I still remember the moment he marched into my backyard like he was entering a war zone. No warning. No permission. No reason. He just kicked the gate open and walked straight toward me like he owned the whole street. The sun hit his sunglasses, and for a second I saw my own reflection shaking. Then my brother stepped in. Calm. Quiet. Deadly sure of himself. The cop froze. Something changed in the air. Like the ground knew a secret that was about to explode. I thought I knew where this was going. I had no idea. Everything that happened next should never have happened in a normal neighborhood. My name is Mark. I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood that pretends to be peaceful. I work in construction. I mind my own business. Yet somehow the HOA always finds a way to crawl into my life. If you hate HOAs, if you're tired of petty rules, if you ever wanted to stand against people drunk on power, go ahead and subscribe. Show them you're not scared. Drop a BOOO HOA in the comments if you know exactly how these people act. Share this video with anyone who ever had to deal with these clowns. Alright, let me take you inside the moment everything went wrong. I was standing in my backyard that morning sipping cheap coffee and trying to pretend I had control over my day. The smell of cut grass hung in the air. My dog Riley was sleeping by the fence. The sun felt warm. Everything seemed normal. Too normal. I noticed the quiet first. Birds stopped. Wind slowed. Even Riley lifted his head and stared at the gate like he sensed a storm coming. I didn't know why. I didn't know how. I just felt something crawling toward my house. Then the gate shook. One hard hit. Then another. Riley jumped up growling. I froze with my cup halfway to my lips. The third hit exploded the gate open, slamming against the fence. Wood cracked. Dust rose. And there he was. The HOA cop. Chest puffed out. Sunglasses reflecting my whole backyard. Acting like a superhero in a movie nobody asked for. He took 2 steps in before I could react. Heavy. Slow. Purposeful. Like he practiced this stance in the mirror. Sir, you are in violation of HOA code. He didn't finish. He just kept walking. Past me. Past the dog. Straight across my yard like he was marching toward some invisible flag. I didn't move. Something in my body went stiff. Not because I was scared. Because I was confused. And when confusion mixes with anger, it becomes a different kind of fire. I stepped forward. What the hell are you doing in my yard? He didn't answer. He gave me that little smirk. The type of smirk people give right before they ruin your day. I'm conducting an inspection. In my yard without permission. That's right. He said it like he was proud of himself. Like he earned a medal for walking into my space. I clenched my jaw. I wanted to say a lot. I wanted to throw my coffee at him. I wanted to call someone. Then I realized. There was someone I could call. My brother. Detective Jake. The quiet one. The one who never talks much but sees everything. He happened to be staying with me for a few days. And let's just say, cops don't intimidate him. Especially fake ones. I was about to yell for him when the HOA cop bent down and started taking pictures of my dog. My dog. Sleeping. Breathing. Being alive. What violation is that supposed to be? He ignored me again. Clicked more pictures. Then suddenly pointed at a tiny patch of dirt near Riley's water bowl. You didn't reseed this area. That's an HOA fine. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because the stupidity was so strong it hit me like a slap. Are you kidding me? He stood up. Stepped closer to me. Too close. You're already on thin ice with the board. I suggest you cooperate. Something snapped inside me. Not anger. Not fear. Just a simple realization. This man was enjoying this. He wanted control. He wanted reaction. He wanted power. He wasn't getting it. Before I could respond, a slow, heavy footstep landed behind us. The HOA cop turned and froze. My brother Jake walked out of the house wearing plain clothes. Badge clipped to his belt. expression calm, eyes sharp like he could cut metal. "What's going on here?" he asked quietly. Too quietly. The kind of quiet that makes grown men rethink their life choices. The HOA cop swallowed. His chest didn't puff anymore. His chin dropped a little. His fake confidence leaked out like air from a punctured tire. "I'm, conducting an inspection for the HOA." Jake stepped closer. "Inside private property without permission." The HOA cop blinked fast, like he was trying to reboot his brain. "There was a complaint." "Show me," Jake said, still calm, still deadly quiet. The HOA cop hesitated, looked at me, looked at the dog, looked at the fence. "You don't have to be here, sir. This is HOA matter." Jake smiled. Not a friendly smile. A detective smile. A smile that means, "You messed up, and now you don't know how to get out. This is my brother's yard, which means this is absolutely my matter. So again, show me what complaint brought you inside private property without a warrant." The HOA cop's throat bobbed. His hand trembled slightly. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a folded paper, held it up like a shield. Jake took it, opened it, stared, then laughed under his breath. "This is a blank form. You didn't even fill it out. You broke into a backyard with no complaint, no warrant, no reason." The HOA cop opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again, like a fish trying to breathe on land. I watched quietly, enjoying the show. Jake leaned in, lowered his voice. "Do you know what trespassing on private property while impersonating authority counts as in this state?" The HOA cop froze. His skin turned pale. He took a step back. Then another. Then another. Jake followed him slowly, not touching, just walking, like a shadow that knew every secret he ever tried to hide. The HOA cop stumbled near the gate, almost tripping. "Look, I was just following HOA instructions. The president told me to check this yard." "I didn't mean." Jake cut him off. "You meant exactly what you did. And now you're going to explain it properly. Because once you step into a yard without legal rights, you step into criminal territory." Silence filled the backyard. Heavy, thick, electric. I looked at Riley. Even he was watching like it was a live drama. The HOA cop swallowed. "What do you want from me?" Jake didn't answer. He just stared. Cold, focused, like he wasn't looking at the man. He was looking at the lies behind him. At that moment I realized something. This wasn't just a power trip. This wasn't about grass or rules or dirt patches. There was something bigger, something darker, something the HOA didn't want us to know. And before I could even breathe, Jake asked the question that changed everything. "Who told you to come into this yard when you knew it was illegal?" The HOA cop didn't answer. He hesitated, shook his head, looked scared. That fear told me one thing. We were not dealing with an HOA nuisance. We were dealing with something hiding inside the board. Something the neighborhood wasn't supposed to see. Now I'm wondering, if someone breaks into your yard with no reason, no complaint, no permission, what do you think they're really looking for? I watched the HOA cop's mouth tremble like he wanted to speak, but the words were stuck somewhere in the back of his throat. It was the first time I saw fear in his eyes. Real fear. Not frustration. Not ego. Fear. Jake stood there calm as ever. Hands loose. Shoulders relaxed. Almost bored. Which was funny, because the HOA cop looked like he was standing at the edge of a cliff. Riley barked once. Short. Sharp. It broke the silence like a knife. The HOA cop flinched. That alone told me everything I needed to know. He was hiding something. Not a small thing. Not a tiny HOA complaint. Something bigger. I stepped a little closer. I didn't say anything. I just wanted him to know he wasn't walking out of my yard until we got answers. He took a shaky breath. Looked at Jake. Then at me. Then back at Jake. I can't say. Jake tilted his head. Can't or won't. The HOA cop swallowed. I'm serious. If I tell you, things will blow up. Like really blow up. Jake squinted. What does that mean? Explain it. The man rubbed his forehead like he was trying to squeeze courage out of his skull. But nothing came out. Just more fear. It's the HOA president. She's been pushing us to check certain houses. Yours is on her list. She said you're a problem homeowner. A risk. Someone who needs to be handled before things get worse. Handled. Not warned. Not fined. Handled. I felt something cold slide through my chest. Not fear. More like insult mixed with anger. What did I ever do to her? Asked. The HOA cop shook his head. She didn't tell me. She just said you were dangerous. Not in a violent way. But in a threat to the HOA way. Like you could expose something. Or ruin something for them. I don't know. I don't question her orders. We just follow them. Jake nodded slowly. So she told you to break into my brother's yard with an empty form. Which means she wanted something done that wasn't official. Which means she wanted no paper trail. Which means she knew it was illegal. The HOA cop's face twisted. I guess. I don't know. I'm not trying to get in trouble. I just do what they tell me. You know how it is. You try to keep your job. You don't look too deep into things. You don't want to be the one rocking the boat. Jake stepped forward. One problem. You stepped into a private yard. That boat already sank. The HOA cop looked like he was about to cry. Or run. Or collapse. He took a step back toward the gate. Then stopped. His eyes darted toward something behind us. I turned. But nothing was there. Just my house. Windows closed. Curtains still. Nothing out of the ordinary. Jake noticed it too. What are you looking at? The HOA cop shook his head again. No. No one. Just making sure no one else is watching. They said people could be watching. Jake narrowed his eyes. Who's watching? Who did they tell you about? The man opened his mouth. Closed it. Pressed his lips together. His whole body was shaking now. I stepped closer. Look. You're scared. Fine. But you came into my yard. You owe me answers. What is the HOA president trying to hide? What does she think I know? He stared at the grass for a long moment. Silent. Trembling. Breathing fast. Then a weird thing happened. His voice changed. Lower. Harsher. More serious. You're not the only house. 3 others were targeted. All of them reported strange things. People watching. Lights outside at night. Notes left on doors. Cameras installed without approval. They blamed the neighbors. But the president told us to check those yards too. Same way. No paperwork. No official orders. Jake stiffened. When did this start? Last month. Right after the HOA had a closed meeting. No minutes recorded. No summary released. Everything was hush-hush. They started calling certain owners troublemakers, security risks. One of the owners moved out 2 weeks ago. Said he felt unsafe. Said the HOA was monitoring him. He tried reporting it. They shut him down. Said he was imagining things. Next week he was gone. House is empty now. Mailbox still full. I felt a chill slide up my spine. You're telling me the HOA is targeting people as threats? Without reason. Without proof. Just because the president says so. The HOA cop lowered his gaze. I know how it sounds. I didn't want to be involved. But they said if I didn't comply, I'd get suspended. Or worse. And I need this job. I have bills. Kids. Life doesn't wait for heroes. Jake let out a slow breath. His eyes sharper now. Like gears turning inside his head. Detective mode fully online. So the president is building a list. A secret list. Mark is on it. And you came to gather... what? Evidence. Pictures. excuses to fine him. Or something else. The HOA cop hesitated, then whispered, "Patterns." They told us to find patterns. Any patterns. They didn't explain it. They just said it would make sense later. I swear that's all I know. I wasn't told the big picture. I was just told where to go and what to take pictures of. Jake and I exchanged a quick glance. The same thought hit both of us. This wasn't about lawns, or fences, or HOA rules. This was something deeper, dangerous, hidden behind fake professionalism and petty authority. I felt anger building, slow, boiling, heavy. "You should leave, before this gets worse for you," Jake said quietly. The HOA cop nodded like a kid getting permission to escape detention. He backed up toward the gate, half running, half stumbling, barely breathing. Before he left, he turned once, looked straight at me. His voice cracked. "You don't understand. They're watching your house. You should be careful. Really careful." Then he sprinted out, gate slamming behind him. Silence. Heavy, thick, suspicious. Jake slowly walked toward the porch. I followed. Riley stayed by my leg, tail low, ears up. Jake didn't sit. He stood there staring at the yard, then at the house, then at the fence. "You're being targeted. Not by a cop. Not by neighbors. By the HOA board. Which makes zero sense. Unless something bigger is happening here. Something they don't want you to see. Something they're scared you might figure out." I swallowed. What would I possibly know? Jake didn't blink. Think. Anything unusual lately? Anyone watching you? Any meetings you heard about? Any strange behavior from the board? Anything missing? Anything weird? Anything at all? I stared at the grass, trying to think, trying to remember, trying to connect dots that didn't want to connect. Then something clicked. A small thing, but loud in my head. And suddenly the puzzle wasn't just random pieces. It was a picture forming. Now I'm wondering, if your HOA started secretly watching your house, what is the first thing you would suspect they're hiding from you? I stood there staring at the grass like the answer was hiding somewhere between the blades. Something had clicked. Not fully, not clearly. More like a whisper inside my brain saying, "You already saw the clue. You just didn't understand it." Jake watched me, waiting, patient, like he knew I was about to remember something important. Riley nudged my hand, soft, anxious. Even he felt the tension still hanging in the yard. I took a slow breath. Last week, Jake didn't move, just listened. Something weird happened at night. I didn't think too much about it. I thought maybe I imagined it. Or maybe it was just one of those things you ignore because life is stressful enough already. Jake raised an eyebrow. What happened? I looked at the porch light, then the side gate, then the windows. It was around 2 a.m. I woke up because Riley barked. A single bark. Not angry, not scared, just notifying. I got up, looked through the blinds, and thought I saw someone standing near the side of the house. Very close, like they were checking something on the wall. But when I turned the porch light on, they were gone. Just like that. No footprints, no noise, nothing. Jake's face didn't change, but his jaw tightened. Just a little. Which meant it mattered. "You told anyone about it?" "No." I didn't want to sound paranoid. Plus the HOA already hates me. I didn't want to give them a reason to say I'm lying or stirring trouble. Jake nodded slowly. "So someone was checking the side of your house. Not the yard. Not the fence. The house. Interesting." He walked toward the wall and inspected it like it was a crime scene. He ran his fingers over the siding, looked at the screws, the seams, the corner. Then he crouched down near the ground. Fresh scrape marks. Something dragged here recently. Small, thin, metallic. I blinked. "You think someone installed something here?" Jake didn't answer. He followed the line of the scrape toward the foundation, then stopped near the gas meter. He leaned in, stared, frowned. "Come here. Look at this." I crouched next to him. At first I didn't see anything. Then I noticed it. A tiny circular mark on the wall. Faint, barely visible. "Was this here before?" Jake asked. "No. Not that I've seen." What is it? He didn't blink. It looks like a mounting spot. A temporary attachment. Something small, like a sensor. Or a micro camera. A chill wrapped around my neck. Cold. Slow. Uncomfortable. You're saying someone put a camera on my house? Jake didn't say yes. He didn't say no. He just kept staring. Let's keep looking before we jump to conclusions. We walked the entire side of the house. Slow. Careful. Eyes scanning every inch. Jake pointed at another faint scrape. Then another small round mark. Then a tiny piece of adhesive stuck under the siding seam. Barely visible. Almost invisible. Unless someone knew what to look for. Someone placed multiple attachments here. All temporary. All removed. But not perfectly. My stomach tightened. You think the HOA is spying on me? Jake stood up straight. I think someone is. He turned toward the fence. Then the neighbor's yard. Then the street beyond it. And the HOA president telling that cop to check your yard without paperwork. That's not random. That's connected. Someone wants something from you. Or wants something on you. Enough to hide cameras. Enough to target you. Enough to break laws casually. I swallowed hard. What possible reason would they have? He didn't look at me. He scanned the tree line behind the fence. Then the rooftops. Then the empty house the cop mentioned. People don't spy without motive. Power. Money. Secrets. Fear. Someone thinks you know something. Or someone thinks you saw something. Or someone thinks you could expose something. I shook my head. I don't have anything. I'm just a guy trying to live in a normal neighborhood. I barely know my neighbors. I barely know the HOA board. I go to work. I come home. I mow my lawn. That's it. Why me? Jake turned to me. His voice lower. Quieter. Heavier. Because normal people make the best targets. They don't fight back. They don't assume the worst. They don't expect danger. They're easy to manipulate. Easy to blame. Easy to watch. I felt heat rise inside my chest. Not fear. Anger. Real anger. The kind that makes your hands shake a little. So what do we do? Jake didn't hesitate. We gather information. We look closer. We keep calm. And we don't let them know we know. He walked toward the back fence. Then toward the far corner of the yard. Do you have neighbors who see everything? Mrs. Turner. The old lady 2 houses down. She's always at her window. Drinks tea like she's watching a live soap opera. Jake smirked. Good. People like her see things before anyone else. He walked toward the side gate. Opened it. Looked at the pathway leading to the street. Stopped. Knelt. Stared. Then pointed. Tire marks. Fresh. Small wheels. Like from a mobility scooter or an old pushcart. Someone was parking right here. Recently. Repeatedly. I blinked. You're kidding. The old lady is spying on me. Jake shook his head. No. Not her. She doesn't move this fast. But she might have seen who. I ran a hand through my hair. This was getting insane. HOA secret lists. Fake inspections. Random people outside my house. Possible cameras. Old neighbors watching from windows. I didn't sign up for any of this. What do you think the HOA president is hiding? Jake looked at me. Slow. Calm. Serious look. She's hiding something she doesn't want outsiders to see. Something in the community. Something in the board. Something big enough to justify illegal surveillance. Something she's willing to threaten people to protect. The wind picked up. Trees rustled. A car drove by slowly. Too slowly. Jake watched it until it turned the corner. They're watching the street. They're watching your yard. They're watching the house. Someone is monitoring you to make sure you don't find out whatever they're covering up. The question isn't if you're in danger. The question is how deep this thing goes. I took a shaky breath. This is insane. It's just an HOA. Why would they be involved in something serious? What could they possibly be hiding? Jake looked at the house again. Then at the trees. Then at the empty house next door. Sometimes the most ordinary places hide the darkest secrets. And sometimes the last person you expect becomes the target. I stared at the faint scrape marks on the wall. The tire marks. The empty house. The gate. The street. Everything. Then I looked at Jake. Do you think they're planning something bigger? Something that involves me directly? Something dangerous? He didn't answer. He just stared at the empty house. Eyes narrowed. And that silence told me more than any explanation ever could. Now I'm wondering, if you found evidence someone had been spying on your home, what's the very first thing you would check next? I stood there staring at the empty house like it suddenly meant something I had never noticed before. All those days I passed it. All those nights I walked the dog past it. never once thinking it was connected to me, or the HOA, or whatever twisted thing was happening in this neighborhood. But now, in the quiet of that moment, with the wind brushing the fence and Jake scanning the street like a hawk, the house felt different. Hello. Watching. Listening. Jake stepped closer to it. Not physically, but with his eyes. Like he was measuring something. Distance. Angles. Lines of sight. You ever seen lights on in that house at night? He asked without looking at me. No. Never. The guy who lived there left 2 weeks ago. The HOA said he moved. The cops said he moved. Mailbox is overflowing. Grass is long. It looks abandoned. Jake nodded slowly. Abandoned houses don't abandon themselves. Someone walks away because something pushes them out. Fear, threats, pressure, something off. And once they leave, someone else fills the space. Not physically, but with purpose. This house is a perfect vantage point to watch yours. I felt a strange weight in my stomach. Uneasy, thick, like something heavy was sitting in the middle of my gut. You think the HOA used that house to monitor me? Jake didn't blink. It's possible. Too many signs point to organized behavior. Not random. Not personal. Structured. Planned. Someone is scared you know something. Or will know something. Or saw something without realizing it. I shook my head. What could I have seen? I'm barely even home during the week. I go to work. Come back. Eat. Sleep. Mow my lawn. Nothing special. Nothing suspicious. Jake took a step toward the fence. Sometimes you don't realize you saw something until someone reacts to it. People hide truth by overreacting to shadows. You were targeted before you even understood why. I looked down at Riley. He was sniffing the ground by the fence. Tail stiff. Body alert. Jake's voice dropped lower. What exactly did the neighbor say before he disappeared? Did he say anything to you? Did he act strange? Did he leave anything behind? Trash. Boxes. Mail. I searched my memory. A week before he left, the neighbor had been pacing in front of his house, muttering, looking over his shoulder. But I ignored it. People get stressed. People talk to themselves. People freak out. I never thought it meant anything. Until now. There was one thing. He tried to talk to me the night before he moved. Or whatever he did. I was walking Riley. He waved me over. Looked nervous. Kept glancing at the HOA office at the end of the street. He said, "Have you noticed anything weird around here lately?" I said no. He looked disappointed. Then he said, "If you see the board doing something at night, stay inside. Don't get involved. Trust me." Next day, he was gone. Jake stopped moving. His eyes sharpened, like a lens focusing. That wasn't casual. That was a warning. A desperate one. He saw something. Something the HOA didn't want spreading. And he was scared enough to run. I swallowed. Hard. What would the HOA be doing at night? What could they possibly be hiding that requires spying? Threats. Secret lists. People disappearing. Someone watching my house walls. Jake exhaled slowly. There are a few possibilities. None of them good. And none of them something an HOA has any business being involved in. He crouched beside the foundation of my house again, running his hand along the wall. You said you saw someone standing by this wall at 2 a.m. Right here. Not the yard. The wall. That's important. Very important. Because that means the purpose wasn't to check your property. It was to access something. Or to install something. Or to find something already installed. Installed? Like what? A camera. A sensor. A tracker. Jake didn't answer. He didn't need to. The silence said enough. I felt anger rising again. Not hot. Cold. Focused. I've lived here 5 years. Never caused trouble. Never broke rules. Kept my yard clean. Never fought with neighbors. Why me? Why now? Jake straightened up. Because someone misinterpreted something you did. Or something you saw. Or something they think you know. People don't spy without a motive. Especially not HOAs. Which means someone in that boardroom thinks you're a threat. A threat to what? We need to find out. We stood there for a long moment, silent, listening to the quiet street, the creaking trees, the faint hum of a distant lawnmower. Then Jake turned to me. Tell me everything you've noticed in the last month. Even the tiny things, the weird things, the moments you dismissed. No detail is too small. Start from the beginning. I took a breath. Okay. The first thing was the HOA newsletter. They sent one 2 weeks late. No community updates. Just a weird message about increased security measures but no explanation. Then the meetings started happening behind closed doors. No one could attend. They used to leave minutes online. Now they don't. And then the HOA president came to my door unannounced, pretending she was asking about a landscaping issue. But she kept staring past me inside my house, like she was checking something. She left fast. Didn't look me in the eye. Just walked away like she was hiding something. Jake nodded slowly. Keep going. What else? Trash day. My bins were opened. Not knocked over. Not searched roughly. Neatly opened. Like someone lifted the lid. Looked inside. Put it back. No animal would do it that cleanly. Then 2 days later, I found a small plastic zip tie cut in half on my driveway. I don't use zip ties. I thought maybe the lawn guys dropped it. Then I saw a black car parked on the street for 3 nights. Nobody got out. Nobody got in. Engine didn't even turn on. Just sat there, facing my house. Jake's eyes narrowed. That car. Did it have tinted windows? Dark plates? Anything unusual? It had dark tint. Too dark. No visible parking permit. And I never saw the driver's face. Not once. And then after that, the HOA started sending me random letters. Not fines. Not warnings. Just reminders. Like, please remember HOA safety guidelines. Well, please ensure your yard remains visible to street view. Why would they send that? My yard is always visible. I don't hide anything. Jake exhaled through his nose. Long, hard, focused. This isn't HOA behavior. This is surveillance behavior. Somebody is looking for something specific. Tracking your movements, your routines, your schedule, and using the HOA as a shield, a cover, a convenient excuse. I felt my heartbeat tighten. Fast, uneven. What do we do now? Do we report it? Do we confront them? Do we watch the empty house? What's the plan? Jake didn't move. He stared at the empty house again, then at the street, then at the area behind my back fence. For now, we gather more. We don't confront. We don't reveal our suspicion. We watch. We document. We wait. Because the minute they realize you're not clueless anymore, they'll change tactics. Maybe even accelerate whatever they're planning. And right now, you're safest when they think you're blind. I rubbed my face, trying to grab onto some sense of normal. But normal was gone. Normal left the moment that HOA cop slammed my gate open. Jake put a hand on my shoulder. I took a deep breath. My chest felt tight. My palms felt warm. My mind felt like it was trying to pull something out of a fog. Jake waited, silent, focused, not pushing, not rushing. He knew the memory was coming. He knew it mattered. I looked at the side wall of the house. The faint scrape marks. The adhesive. The place where someone had stood close enough to touch the siding. Close enough to whisper into the darkness. I didn't tell you everything about that night. The night someone was standing here. Jake didn't blink. Tell me now. I swallowed. Hard. There was a sound. Not loud. Not clear. Not like a conversation. More like a whisper. A short whisper. Like someone saying something under their breath. But it wasn't a word. It was a number. Jake's posture changed. Barely. But enough. He leaned a little closer. What number? 36. He froze for half a second. Then his eyes sharpened like a blade being honed. Are you sure? Are you absolutely sure that's what you heard? Yes. I didn't think about it at the time. I thought maybe it was a dream. Or maybe I misheard something. But now it makes sense. Or maybe it will. I don't know. Jake stepped back, rubbed his chin, looked up at the siding, then the ground, then the street. 36. That's not random. People who break into yards don't whisper random numbers. Someone checking a wall wouldn't say that. Someone running surveillance wouldn't say that. This is coded. Or it's a reference. Or it's a location. Or it's an instruction. I shook my head. I don't understand. What could 36 mean here? This is just a regular neighborhood. Nothing special. Nothing secret. It's not like we have some underground bunker or something. Jake ignored my comment. He walked to the fence. Stared down the street again. His eyes scanning everything. Tell me more about that night. Everything. Small details. Sounds. Lights. Smells. Anything. I closed my eyes, trying to pull the memory back. It was cold. The air felt weird. Still. Too still. Like the whole neighborhood was holding its breath. Riley barked once. Then ran to the window. I lifted the blinds. And I saw a shadow near the side of the house. Tall. Still. Facing the wall. not moving. Then I heard the whisper, like someone talking into their shoulder, or into a small device, or talking to someone else quietly. And then, as soon as I turned on the porch light, the figure disappeared. Fast, silent, gone. Jake nodded slowly. Silent movement. Whispers. Numbers. This was coordinated behavior. Trained behavior. Not HOA behavior. Not neighbor behavior. Someone instructed them. Someone with authority. Someone who knows what they're doing. My chest tightened. Then why involve the HOA at all? Jake looked at me. Finally. Directly. Because the HOA is the perfect cover. No one questions them. No one challenges them. They walk into yards. They check houses. They send letters. They monitor everything. They have access to addresses, maps, schedules, complaints, and they can hide anything as a rule enforcement. People don't see HOA. They see annoyance, not threat, not danger, not surveillance. The more he said it, the more my stomach twisted, because it made sense. Too much sense. The HOA was the perfect front for something bigger. I leaned against the porch rail, trying to absorb everything, trying to breathe normally, trying to understand how my life turned into a silent war with people I barely even knew. Jake paced the yard, slow, thinking, mapping something in his head. If 36 is a code, we need to figure out what type, location, lot number, house count, a system, or something encrypted. I frowned. Lot number 36 is across the street. That old brick house with the green shutters. Jake stopped mid-step, turned, looked at me. Has anything weird happened there? I shook my head. It seemed ordinary. A family. A normal one. Kids, dog, lawn chairs. They seem normal. I never noticed anything. Nothing unusual. Why would that matter? Jake didn't say anything. He walked toward the street. Then toward the spot between my yard and the empty house. Then back again. Could 36 be time? 36 minutes. 36 seconds. 36 hours. A countdown. A meeting. I swallowed. What if it's an address? Not here. Somewhere else. Something the HOA is hiding off the books. Something connected to the board. Jake didn't dismiss it, which scared me more than if he had. He stared at the empty house again. If the neighbor heard something, or saw something, or learned something, it would have been connected to this number. And if he tried to warn you, he knew you were next on the list. Whatever list that is. A shiver crawled up my spine. Why me? Why am I on this list? What did I do? Jake shook his head. You didn't do anything. But maybe they think you did. Maybe you were outside at the wrong time. Maybe you drove past at the wrong moment. Maybe you saw something without realizing. People underestimate how often the truth is witnessed accidentally. I felt anger build again. Like pressure. Like heat under my ribs. This is insane. It's a neighborhood. Not a spy movie. Who the hell are these people? And why is an HOA involved in anything like this? Jake's voice dropped. Low. Quiet. Focused. Because some HOAs aren't just HOAs. Some have board members with real connections. Police. Security companies. Developers. Private contractors. People who hide things behind paperwork. People who use rules to control. People who do things behind closed doors because no one thinks to question them. When someone with power wants something buried, they use structures people trust. The wind blew. Not strong, but enough to shift a branch. And something caught my eye. I pointed. Jake, look. The empty house. The curtain. Did it just move? He spun instantly. His whole body shifting. Like a switch flipped. We both stared. The window curtain. One of them. Barely moved. A tiny motion. Like someone had just let go of it. Jake stepped closer. Not too close. Just enough to see the angle. That curtain wasn't open a minute ago. My heart dropped into my stomach. You think someone is inside, right now, watching us? Jake didn't answer. His silence was answer enough. He scanned the street again. The corners. The roofs. The shadows. This changes things. If someone is in that house, right now, watching you, watching us, then this surveillance isn't just old. It's active. And whoever is doing it is close. Very close. I felt my breath get shorter, tighter, faster. Do we call the police? Do we confront them? Do we leave? What do we do? Jake shook his head. Not yet. If we move too fast, we tip our hand. If we act scared, they react. If we confront, we lose information. Right now we need to observe, watch, track, figure out why you're their target, and what 36 means. Because that number, that whisper, that night, that's the key. That's the piece they didn't want you to notice. You weren't supposed to hear it. But you did. And that's why they're watching you now. The curtain in the empty house swayed again. Soft, slow, barely visible. My skin crawled. Jake, what if the thing they're hiding is inside that house, right now? What if I didn't just see someone that night? What if I saw part of the secret they're protecting? Jake turned to me, eyes sharp, voice calm. That's exactly what I'm thinking. And if that's true, we need to figure out how deep this goes before they make their next move. Now I can't stop wondering. If you saw a curtain shift in an empty house, would you walk toward it or watch from a distance? ChatGPT can. Jake kept staring at the empty house like he was trying to see through the walls. Not blinking, not moving, just calculating, measuring angles, thinking like someone who had walked into danger too many times to be surprised by it. I swallowed hard. The yard felt smaller. The air felt heavier. The silence felt unnatural, like we were standing inside someone else's plan. Jake finally spoke. Slow, low, controlled. Whoever is in that house, whoever moved that curtain, they're watching us. Not the neighborhood, not the street. My throat tightened. You think they know we're onto them? Jake shook his head. No, not yet. But they're studying us, watching how we move, how we react. Maybe waiting to see if you'll slip up, or if you'll talk, or if you'll notice something you shouldn't. I looked at the curtain again. Still, motionless, just hanging there like nothing happened. But I saw it. We both saw it. Someone was in there. Someone who wasn't supposed to be. Jake stepped away from the fence and motioned for me to follow him toward the porch. Not running, not rushing, just controlled steps. Like he didn't want whoever was watching to know we were suspicious. When we reached the porch, he leaned against the rail, looking casual, relaxed, like he was talking about the weather. But his voice was razor sharp. Tell me about the HOA president. Everything. How she acts, how she talks, what she does, what she avoids, who she works with. Every detail matters now. I rubbed my hands together, trying to calm the pounding in my chest. She's strange, too friendly, too interested. She asks questions she doesn't need to know, like where I work, what time I leave, what time I come home, if I travel, if I have visitors. She shows up at people's houses unannounced, pretending she's checking violations. But she never writes anything down, never carries a clipboard, just looks around, observes, then leaves. Jake nodded. Behavioral surveillance. She's gathering patterns, movement, daily habits, lifestyle. People like that don't enforce rules. They track people. I felt sweat form on the back of my neck. She came to my house 2 days before the night I saw that shadow. She pretended she was checking my fence line, but she kept looking at the gas meter. Then the siding. Exactly where you found the scrape marks. Jake's jaw tightened. She wasn't checking your fence. She was checking the installation. Whatever they put there. She wanted to see if it was still intact, or if you noticed it. My stomach twisted. So they really did put something on my house. Some kind of device. Some kind of camera. Something they needed to monitor. Jake nodded. And someone inside that empty house was probably receiving or relaying whatever that device picked up. Which means you're not just a random homeowner they're targeting. You're part of something bigger. Something planned. Something they act like they need to protect. The wind picked up again. And for a moment, I thought I saw another flick of movement inside that empty house. Jake didn't react. His eyes stayed on me. But I knew he saw it. I lowered my voice. What do we do? Do we go over there? Do we open the door? Confront whoever is inside? Jake shook his head fast. No. Never approach a watcher. Not when you don't know what they're capable of. They're here with a purpose. They're backed by someone. And right now, we have no idea how far their connections go. Police, security, private contractors, board members. Anyone could be involved. We need more information, not confrontation. I exhaled slowly, trying to steady myself. What could they be watching for? What could they be protecting? What secret is worth this level of spying? Jake didn't look at the house this time. He looked at the HOA office down the street. Small, innocent, fake. Secrets are usually connected to money, or power, or guilt. And HOAs have access to all three. Dues, fees, fines, development funds, neighborhood plans. construction approvals, maintenance contracts, lot sales. There are 1,000 ways to hide money or misuse authority in a quiet neighborhood. The people who notice, or the people who get too close, become targets, like your neighbor, like you. I swallowed. Why me? I'm not investigating anything. I'm not exposing anything. I didn't do anything. Jake tilted his head. You didn't. But maybe you were close to someone who did. Or maybe you saw something without understanding it. Or maybe your house location is important. A vantage point. A blind spot. A place they want access to. Or maybe someone misread a situation. And once you were put on the list, there was no reason to take you off it. My heart tightened. The idea of being targeted by mistake, being wrapped into something bigger than me, something dangerous, made me feel small, helpless, like a pawn on someone else's board. Jake must have sensed it. He placed a hand on my shoulder. Firm. Grounding. You're not helpless. You have information. You heard the number. You saw the shadow. You noticed the curtain. You're already ahead of them. You just don't know how the pieces fit yet. But you will. We'll make sure of it. Riley barked suddenly. Loud. Alert. His ears perked. His tail stiff. Jake's head snapped toward the street. A black SUV was parked at the corner. Not moving. Just sitting there. Engine running. Windows tinted too dark. Jake's voice dropped. Do you recognize that car? Has it been here before? Think carefully. I stared at it. My breath catching. My mind racing. And then it hit me. Yes. That's the same car I saw at night. The one that parked on the street for 3 nights straight. The one that never moved. The one I thought belonged to a new neighbor. That's the same one. I'm sure of it. Jake didn't react with surprise. He reacted like he expected it. Good. Now we know the watchers aren't just inside that house. They're outside too. They're rotating positions. Watching from multiple angles. Trying to track us. Trying to see how much you know. I stepped back. The world felt like it was closing in. My own street. My own yard. My own life. Didn't feel like mine anymore. I looked at Jake with fear rising inside me. What do they want? Why are they watching so hard? What are they protecting? Why me? Jake exhaled slowly, then spoke with calm intensity. This isn't about you personally. It's about the secret behind this neighborhood. The thing your neighbor tried to warn you about. The thing the HOA president is hiding. The thing those devices were connected to. 36. That number is part of it. It means something to them. And the moment you heard it, you became a liability. Now they're watching to see if you understand. To see if you put the pieces together. To see if you become a threat. I stared at the SUV. Dark. Still. Watching. And I felt something inside me shift. Fear turning into anger. Anger turning into resolve. So what now? Do we keep pretending we don't know? Do we let whoever is in that house keep watching us? Do we just live like this? Waiting. Hoping they stop. Jake shook his head. No. We need the truth. We need to know what they see. What they know. Why they care. And what 36 really means. Because once we understand that, everything else falls into place. This number. This pattern. This house. This surveillance. They're all connected. And when we pull the right thread, the whole thing will unravel. Whether they want it to or not. I took a deep breath. Calm. Focused. Ready. For the first time. I wasn't just scared. I was curious. Determined. Hungry for answers. But one question hit me harder than all the others. If I really was being watched from that empty house. If someone inside was tracking my life. My movements. My routines. Then what were they planning? Now I'm wondering. If you knew someone was actively watching you from an abandoned house, would you confront them or investigate the reason they're watching? Jake didn't look away from the SUV. His eyes stayed locked, cold, focused, like he was memorizing every inch of it, every shadow, every angle, every threat. Meanwhile, I felt something tighten inside my chest. Not fear this time. Something sharper. Like the moment before a storm hits. When the air changes. When your body knows something is coming before your mind does. Riley paced near my feet. Low growl. Ears high. Muscles tense. He could feel it. Even animals know when eyes are watching. Jake finally stepped back. Just slightly. Enough to shift his weight. Enough to look like he was thinking. Not reacting. He whispered. Keep your eyes on the SUV. Tell me if it moves. Tell me if the door opens. Tell me if the lights shift even a little. I nodded, heart pounding, hands trembling, but I kept my focus. I watched the SUV. Every inch of it. Jake walked toward the porch, not turning his back to the street. Not once. He picked up my tools from the bench. A flashlight. A small metal pry bar. A screwdriver. Not as weapons. More like things a man holds when he wants to look normal. Normal but prepared. He came back and stood next to me. His voice low, steady, controlled. It's time to collect evidence. Not confront. Not accuse. Just collect. If someone is watching you, we watch them back. We observe. We track. We document. The more we know, the less power they have. I swallowed. You want to check the empty house? Right now. Jake nodded. We won't go inside. We won't make noise. We won't break anything. We'll just get close. Check the outside. Look for devices. Look for footprints. Look for signs someone has been moving around. And if we see anything dangerous, we walk away fast. No hero moves. No stupid risks. Just information. My breath caught in my throat. Is it safe? Jake looked at me. Serious. Steady. Nothing is safe right now. But doing nothing is worse. I felt a chill run through my arms. He was right. We couldn't stay frozen. We couldn't keep standing in my yard waiting for answers to fall from the sky. We needed to move. We needed control. We needed to flip the game. Jake motioned with his chin. We move slow. Natural. Like we're just walking the dog. Like we're not suspicious. If they're watching, they shouldn't know we're watching them back. Riley barked once. Sharp. Short. Almost like he understood the plan. Jake opened the side gate. Calm. Casual. Like he did this every day. I followed. Heart pounding. But steps steady. The moment we stepped onto the pathway between the houses, everything felt different. Quiet. Still. Heavy. Like the air itself was listening. We reached the edge of the empty property. Jake crouched near the fence, his fingers brushing the dirt. Light. Gentle. Footprints. Fresh. Size 11. Same tread pattern repeated. Someone walked this path multiple times. Recently. Not days ago. Hours ago. Maybe less. My stomach tightened. Do you think someone is still inside? Jake didn't answer. He moved to the window instead. The same one where the curtain had moved. He crouched again. Looked at the edge of the siding. Pressed his fingers gently against the frame. Look. Someone has been gripping here. There's a thumbprint smudge. Fresh oil. Human skin leaves that. Someone was peeking through this window. Watching us. Not the yard. Not the street. I felt something cold fill my lungs. A feeling I didn't even know how to name. Jake stepped back. Let's walk the perimeter. Slow. Careful. Look for signs of forced entry. Look for cables. Look for anything unusual. We moved along the wall. Riley sniffing the ground. Whining. His tail low. He sensed it. He knew someone had been here. Jake stopped near the side door. A small wooden door with peeling paint. He pointed. See that? Small scratch near the lock. Someone used a tool. A thin one. Not to break in. To open quietly. This door wasn't forced. It was picked. Professionally. Someone with training. Someone who didn't want anyone to know they entered. My knees felt weak. I grabbed the fence to steady myself. Jake. This isn't HOA level stuff. This is something else. This is some kind of organized surveillance. Who the hell are we dealing with? Jake kept inspecting. He didn't sugarcoat anything. He never did. Someone with money, connections, and something to lose. Someone who thinks this neighborhood is worth hiding. Someone who uses the HOA as a shield. Someone who targets homeowners who get too close to whatever secret they're protecting. Like your neighbor. Like you. The weight of his words sank deep into my spine. We reached the back of the house. And that's when Jake froze. He pointed at something. Small. Black. Metallic. Hidden behind a loose board. I leaned closer. Heart pounding. Hands sweating. What is that? Jake exhaled. A transmitter. A low-power repeater. Used to bounce signals. Probably from the device that was attached to your wall. This is how they monitored your yard. Your routines. Your movements. The HOA didn't plant this. Someone using the HOA did. Someone using their system. Their access. Their authority as cover. I stepped back. The world tilting. The truth slamming into me harder than anything before. So they were spying on me. Not imagining. Not paranoia. Real. Intentional. Organized. Targeted. And the HOA president was part of it. Jake nodded. Everything points to her. At least on the surface. But someone above her is running the show. This is too advanced. Too calculated. Too smooth. She's involved. But she's not the mastermind. The real architect is hiding behind her. Using her. Using the board. Using you. I felt my skin crawl. Using me for what? What part of my life do they need? Jake looked at me with a strange expression. A mix of intensity and realization. That's the question. And it's the key to everything. Why you? Out of everyone. Why your yard? Why your house? Why the number 36 whispered outside your wall? Before I could answer, Riley growled. Loud. Deep. Warning. Jake spun. Fast. I sharp. The SUV at the corner had moved. Just a few feet. Barely noticeable. But enough. The driver shifted. A silhouette visible now. Watching us. Watching the empty house. Watching every step we took. Jake whispered. Don't look panicked. Don't run. Walk back casually. Like we found nothing. We don't want them to know we know. Not yet. Because the moment they realize you're aware, they'll change the pattern. They'll move the device. They'll hide the evidence. They'll cover their tracks. And we lose our biggest advantage. They think you're clueless. That's our weapon now. We walked. Slow. Calm. Back toward my yard. Back toward the porch. But my heart was hammering so hard it felt like it might break out of my chest. When we reached my porch, Jake finally looked at me. Now we know. They're inside the house. They're outside in vehicles. They planted devices. They whispered codes. They targeted your neighbor. They're tracking you. And they're watching us right now. I swallowed. Voice shaking. So what's the next step? What do we do now? How do we fight something like this? Jake answered quietly, but with absolute certainty. We find out what 36 means. Once we decode that, everything else opens. The motive, the plan, the threat, the people involved. 36 is the heart, the core. The one thing they're terrified you'll understand. The one thing your neighbor tried to warn you about. He moved because of it. You're being watched because of it. The HOA president is acting strange because of it. Those cameras were placed because of it. Everything leads back to that number. Everything. I stared at my yard. At the empty house. At the SUV. My life. My home. My privacy. Everything felt invaded. Twisted. Changed forever. Now the only thing left was the truth. And that truth lived inside that number. So now I have to ask you. If one mysterious number was the key to everything happening around you, where would you start looking for its meaning?